So what if I told you that pretty much everything you've been taught about money is wrong? That's the big, bold idea in Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a book that basically says the rich are playing a completely different game with a totally different set of rules. And today, we're going to break down those rules for you, starting with the one question that this whole book is built around.
I mean, think about it for a second. Why do the rich seem to just keep getting richer, while so many others are stuck struggling? How is it possible that someone with a PhD can barely make ends meet, but a high school dropout can go on to build a massive empire? It feels like a puzzle, right? Well, Kiyosaki says he found the answer through the lessons he learned from two very, very different dads.
Okay, so at the heart of this whole story are his two father figures. First, you've got his poor dad. This was his actual father, a super smart guy, highly educated with a PhD, but he was always struggling with money. Then there was his rich dad. This was his best friend's father, an entrepreneur who only finished 8th grade but totally got how the money game really worked. And the very first rule Rich Dad taught him was how to break out of the one trap that catches almost everyone. And that brings us to lesson 1, escaping what's famously known as the rat race. You know the drill, right? Get up, go to work, pay the bills, and then do it all over again, day after day. It's that feeling of running on a hamster wheel and never actually getting anywhere. And it all stems from one big flawed idea.
This quote, this is it. This is the absolute core of the whole book. See, most of us are taught to work hard for our money. But the rich, they learn how to make their money work hard for them. It's a total 180 in thinking, a completely different mindset, and it's powered by two really strong emotions.
So what keeps that hamster wheel spinning round and round? Rich Dad says it's a 1-2 punch of two big emotions. First, there's fear. The fear of not having enough money, of not being able to pay your bills. That's what gets you out of bed and to work. But then, once you get paid, that's when desire takes over. You see all the cool stuff you can buy, and bam, you spend. That push and pull between fear and desire, that's the engine of the rat race.
Here's exactly how the trap works. It's a simple but brutal cycle. First, you get a job. Great. Then you work hard. You get a raise. You're earning more money. So what do? You spend more money. Maybe a bigger apartment, a fancier car. Suddenly, your bills are bigger too. Your expenses have magically risen to match your new income, and you're right back where you started, just with nicer stuff. You're not actually any wealthier, you're just running faster on the same wheel. Sound familiar?
Now, Rich Dad's way of teaching this was pretty intense. He made a 9-year-old Kiyosaki work for him for free, no paycheck. Why? Because by taking away the wage, he forced him to open his eyes and stop thinking like an employee who just trades time for dollars. He had to start looking for opportunities to make money, not just earn it. And that little shift in perspective led to his very first business, a comic book library he ran out of his basement.
All right, this brings us to the biggest secret in the entire book. Seriously, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. This is the absolute game changer that separates the rich from everybody else.
Okay, here we go. Rich Dad's definition is so simple, it's brilliant. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, period. Think of it like a little money tree in your backyard. A rental property that gives you rent checks every month, that's an asset. A stock that pays you a dividend, asset. It's something that works for you, generating cash.
And a liability? Well, it's the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. That car payment, your credit card bill, those are liabilities. They're like little money vacuums. Now here's the kicker. The rich understand this difference cold. But the poor middle class, they often buy liabilities and mistakenly think they're buying assets. That's a huge, huge mistake.
And that is why a big paycheck will never, ever make you rich on its own. I mean, we've all heard stories about athletes or lottery winners who make millions and end up broke, right? It's proof that it's not about how much money comes in. It's about what you do with it once it's in your hands. Do you point it towards assets or towards liabilities? Okay, let's follow the money here. For most people, income comes in from a job and then flows right back out to pay for liabilities. Think mortgages, car payments, student loans. It's a one-way street. But for the rich, it's a completely different picture. Their income comes in, and they use it to buy assets, things like real estate, stocks, or a business. And what do those assets do? They generate more income. It creates this amazing, powerful feedback loop where their wealth just keeps growing on its own.
So how do you actually start doing this? That's what the next big lesson is all about. It's called mind your own business. And no, that doesn't mean being secretive.
It means you need to start building up your own asset column.
This quote really nails it. See, there's a huge difference between your profession and your business. Your profession, your job, is how you pay the bills. But your business, that's your asset column. Most people spend their entire lives focusing on their profession, on their paycheck. The rich, on the other hand, focus on their business, on building that collection of assets that will one day pay.
So, what kind of things are we talking about here? What are these real assets? Well, things like a business that you own, but don't have to personally manage day to day. We're talking stocks and bonds, income-generating real estate, a rental property, even things like royalties from a book or a patent. You see the common thread here? All of these things make money for you, even while you're sleeping. They are the true engines of financial freedom.
Now, the book isn't telling you to go quit your job tomorrow. Not at all. The advice is actually to keep your day job. That's what pays the bills and keeps the lights on. But in your spare time, and with any extra cash you have, you start minding your own business. You start buying those assets, not more liabilities. That's step one on the path to breaking free. And here's another huge difference in how people think about spending. When most people want something fancy, a luxury, they just buy it, usually on credit, which means they're adding another liability. But the rich play it completely differently. They want a luxury car? First, they'll buy an asset, say another rental property. Then, they use the new income from that asset to pay for the car. The asset buys the toy. It's a simple but profound difference.
Okay, but to buy all this stuff, the real estate, the stocks, the businesses, you need something else first. Something that's actually way more valuable than any of them. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial lesson of all, investing in your ultimate asset.
And what is that ultimate asset? It's your mind. It's what's between your ears. Think about it. Stocks, real estate, those are just tools. In the wrong hands, they're useless or even dangerous. The book's biggest point is that the single most powerful investment you will ever make is in your own financial education.
Kiyosaki calls this your financial IQ, and he says it's built on 4 key skills. First, accounting, so you can actually understand what the numbers are telling you. Second, investing, which is the science of making money make more money. Third, understanding markets, so you know the forces of supply and demand and can spot a good deal. And finally, the law, so you can use things like tax advantages to grow your wealth even faster.
This quote really brings it all home. Money is powerful, sure, but it can be lost in a heartbeat. A market can crash, a business can fail. But financial education, the knowledge you build, no one can ever take that away from you. That's the one thing that gives you the power to create wealth from scratch again and again. So if we had to boil this whole book down to one sentence, it's this. The goal isn't just to work hard. The goal is to learn how to make your money work hard for you. It's all about that shift, from focusing on your paycheck to focusing on your asset column, and always investing in what you know. And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. You can only work, 8, 10, maybe 12 hours a day? But your money? Your money can work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it never gets tired. It can be your hardest working employee. So the real question is, are you letting it?